Just testing. Phil, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, fantastic.
Welcome, everyone. It's the top of the hour. We'll get started in just 30 seconds here, just in case people are still grabbing lunch or something. We'll still have some more people coming in the room. I will be recording this when we start in about 30 seconds, and the recording will go out to all registrants. So in about half a minute, I will be back on and we will begin. And Dan, just to double check, you ready to go in a couple minutes here after intros?
Yes, sir.
All right. I will start recording everyone now. And welcome everyone to our monthly ICC Digital Codes Premium webinar. If you've been here before, you've seen we probably just do an overview of things you may be familiar with if you're a first-time user, or if you're just learning about everything, it's a general overview. This month, however, our special guest, Dan Janicek, who is on our software development team, is going to introduce some of the features that we've just added to the Digital Codes Premium software, and I'm going to go through some examples here. So I will share the screen with you, Dan, and I'll just finish talking up here. So we'll let Dan go ahead and take that over, but just to let you know, during the presentation here, I'll be showing you the actual screenshots and how to navigate everything. If you have questions, please post them in chat first. I will take the background here for the most of the meeting, but I will be answering all questions that you post into the chat. If you happen to post it to me directly, I may respond to the group so everyone gets the benefit of hearing the question. And once again, this is recorded. It will be sent out to everyone that registered at the end. And at the end, if there are additional questions, we'll go over those. And if we have time, I will go through the whole process of how to order and use digital codes. If you're looking on our website, looking to make a purchase, answer questions for that too. So I'm going to turn off my camera and be quiet. And Dan, it is on you.
All right, fantastic, and thank you very much, Phil. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, potentially, for where you're joining us from. As Phil had mentioned, my name is Dan Janicek. I am with the product development team here for Digital Codes, and excited to review some of the new feature enhancements with you today, as well as looking at a deeper dive of our premium code insights and how those can make your understanding and application of code compliance just a little bit easier. Phil was kind enough to turn on his camera. As I came in here to WebEx, I realized that my permissions were not activated for my camera, but that's okay because the screen is actually the more important thing for everybody to be following along with anyways. So we will dive right in with that. All right, so what I have here on my screen is digital codes. I assume everybody who's joining us here today on the webinar is at least aware of the platform, but digital codes does offer the largest collection of building code standards and more within the space from the trusted and authentic source, as ICC is the publisher of many of these titles, and we work closely with all of those that we do license and bring the content to the platform through. The navigation here at the top allows you to drill down in a number of different ways to the contents or the titles that are most relevant for your use case. We've got our iCode standards, locations, and commentaries here along the top. Each of these allow you to drill down to the subcategories. And then the second row here is our resources, our topics, and our publisher. So each of these acts as a high-level bucket of different groupings that are available and allow you to click through to the individual category page for each value. Additionally, if you have a more targeted search that you're looking for, you can always come up here to our primary navigation bar. And notice what I'm starting with right now is a non-signed-in user. So everything I'm looking at from this lens will be a basic experience. I will be signing in just a moment. I'll be showing the premium side of the house as well. But everything being shown here is available as a resource for anybody within the space. So as I click in here, by default, it's going to give up some of the most popular titles, which are pretty consistently the building of the residential codes, but the user can type in any portion of the year or title, and you will see the values here will update dynamically. And with just a single click, the user will have the ability to jump to that specific title landing page. I think this is a good opportunity for us to start with some of the recent updates and changes that were released to digital codes just last week. Those that have visited the site before will notice a very different looking landing page here as they consume the contents. One of the driving factors behind a lot of the feedback and a lot of the comments from users like yourselves has been a desire to make the content easier to read and more simplified to give that optimized viewing experience. So the first thing you'll notice is from the landing page, we've removed the purchase column and we've actually moved that into a CTA, which we're going to show here in a moment, so that that information is available, but at the time the user is ready to learn more about premium or make a conversion decision. What we want to do is spotlight the content that the user needs to find and ensure that they're able to quickly and easily drill into the chapter or section that have the most relevance to them. I'll pause for just a second. I saw a comment that the audio is not coming across. Phil, are you able to hear me?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I apologize, viewer who's not able to hear. It sounds like it might be something on your end. Okay, I'm getting multiple confirmations, so thank you for that. So any user who lands on this page as a basic user, you will notice that we do have a banner here now making that very clear. So there's no obscurity. And we do go even further by saying what you have with basic and clarifying that it is a read-only access to that title, but recognize that the full contents of these titles are going to be available for the general public. Specifically reading between the lines, this is a free resource for the user to take advantage of. There's going to be more inside of premium, which we look at, but the contents themselves are a huge benefit to the entire building space. And this is going to include everything from the I codes as well as any of the adoptable titles across the states and locales that we have available. As users get more familiar with this look and feel, the true north, if you will, is going to be available here in the upper right-hand corner, so that as you traverse from one title to the next, this clarifier will always let you know what lens you're consuming the content in for the active title. So this one here is letting me know this title is basic read only. It is unlocked, so I'm able to access this content without any issue. But then clicking on this will open up my convert to premium subscription modal if and when that time is appropriate. And we'll come back to this because not only is this now available on the landing page, but we'll have the ability for learning more about premium as we learn some of the benefits and the features available therein. The other big thing you'll notice here as we traverse across the updated landing page is the header region, which includes a breadcrumb. So the user always has context of where they exist within the application as they drill down. So this being inside the 2021 I code category, I can click on those at any point to bring me to the category page with all of the 2021 titles, so that if I wanted to flip from building to residential, I could do so that way. I also can jump from different titles within that category with this optimized dropdown, which is going to give you the list of titles in that same category. So now with a single click, I can jump between titles without having to leave the content pages that I'm on. And whether it's I codes or whether it's a specific state like Florida, like California, like New York, the user is able to find the section references from the different titles much more rapidly than they have been to date. And that's a common theme you're going to see throughout this is trying to make the viewing experience more efficient for finding the task at hand. And then when we navigate here to the left-hand side, our table of contents, the updates here is with the color coding, making that a little bit easier to navigate. And then everything has been updated for a consistent title case where the first letter is capitalized and everything else is lowercase, making it a little bit easier to read. You'll notice for each one of these, I can select either a chapter or I can drill down to specific subsections to go immediately to those contents. Again, the entirety of this title is going to be available for me without even having to be signed in or have a digital code premium subscription. From the lens of content, one of the big changes that we made is optimizing the width of content so that it fits a variety of different screens. The human eye doesn't lend itself easily on large screens of reading margin to margin. So this is an optimized best practice for accessibility for a line length. But what we heard even when rolling this out for a number of users is there's going to be cases with wide tables or other content where being able to take advantage of a large screen could be valuable. So what we did is we implemented this full screen toggle, which allows the user to do exactly that. The full screen will have the text snap end to end on whatever available space is there from the monitor in front of you. And you can go even wider by collapsing the TOC and really going end to end on the screen as far as you choose. So it's putting more control and more personalization in the hands of the user. And with that control, it will actually persist. So as I jump between sections or even to another chapter, you notice this will stay full screen now until I come in and I toggle this back off. So I can even jump to another title. The users, if the setting is that you want to view this full width, the application is going to remember that and it's going to preserve that setting for you until you decide to turn it back off. And you see at that point, it snaps back to the default width that we had put in place. So especially with table content and other text, again, it makes that a little bit easier for the user to traverse. And the one other primary piece is in addition to the full screen, we've moved the legend here to make this a little bit easier. I had mentioned the basic read only for these titles. There's going to be one of 3 settings that'll be communicated here from the upper left-hand corner, upper right-hand corner, excuse me. And if you're wondering what those are, that information is now prevalently listed out at the top of the legend. So whereas we have titles that do require a Digital Codes Premium subscription to access, those are going to be titles like our ICC commentaries, our significant changes, a lot of the supporting materials. When the user visits those, they'll see the premium required icon that will prevent access until you have premium. And then for those that are signed in, you'll see the premium active indicated, and we're going to review that in just a moment here. The other thing prominently called out in our legend now is the different color-coded text that is available throughout our titles. And that's going to help the user identify where the content of those titles has evolved over time through the code development process. So anything that's identified in blue within the I codes would indicate that a successful proposal was voted upon and approved, which has impacted that section since the prior cycle. Many of those base codes are further modified or amended for state usage. So the state adjustments are going to be represented in red text. And then for those that are customized further down to the local level, there could potentially be up to 3 different colors in place where the local amendments would be layered in fuchsia. And then we've got some tooltips as well for the premium users with some of the key feature functions that are available therein. Before we go into the content, I was going to jump over here to a commentary just so I can indicate for the group what this experience is going to look like for those that are a basic user that come to a title where premium is required. So again, we're going to see the lock icon. It does clarify both in the upper right-hand corner here, as well as this banner on the landing page that a premium subscription is required. And then the TOC in this case is going to be disabled. So the user can see all of the titles available within this title, but they wouldn't be able to click through without having a Digital Codes Premium subscription. The breadcrumbs and the drop-down behavior all functions much the same way. But again, the limitation here is while we can traverse to the different titles, that same enforcement restriction is going to be enforced. I'm going to come back here to the I codes. We'll jump back into the trusted IBC. And the next piece I wanted to point out is, as a basic user, how I can learn some of the additional benefits that are available to me through Premium Code Insights. So as we scroll through, the content itself is going to have these floating gold P icons after the section titles. And if I were to move my mouse over these, it gives me a little tooltip that further indicates what this means. So a Premium Code Insight is available at the end of this section. Clicking on this would actually jump me down to that row, which will further indicate which Premium Code Insights are available. And you might be asking, why do we have this at the top if it's just going to scroll you to the bottom? This example here might be a small section. There are some that are going to be much longer. So this helps you to identify where insights are available, even if the end of that section may be beneath the fold of where the page flows off. And then with these, the clarifier commentary excerpts is one example here. Gives you a description on hover, and then if we click on this, it's going to give us that full text, and it's going to let us know that there's more information available here, but this does require a Digital Codes premium subscription to obtain access to it. So we've got our CTAs to start a free trial, which would allow access to all of these features and all of these premium code insight snippet pieces. And we've also got our subscribe to premium modal. And this is what I was alluding to a little bit earlier, is rather than having to convert everything from the title landing page, now we can actually support a conversion decision for the user in the scope of the content that they're interested in obtaining. And this modal was recently redesigned as well to make our premium offerings a little bit easier for the user to consume, whereas we've got our monthly and our single license as a default, but as a user considers their other options, an annual subscription or a 3-year subscription, you can see not only that the pricing updates dynamically, but it's going to call out the very large discounts that are available with these different offerings. And the same is going to be true here with our volume discounts as the number of licenses increases. You can see that by updating the annual or the number of licenses, 17% discount as opposed to going monthly, and then a 40% unit discount as opposed to going with a single license. We can see how that is reflected in the single unit, and then what the total would be at this point for 5 licenses annually of digital codes for the building code. And then additionally, we can actually flip over to Premium Complete, and we can see what that means as it relates, Premium Complete being our largest collection. It's actually over 1,600 now titles as we continue to add more and more in real time at all times. Okay. And the CTAs down here allow us to learn more about Premium as well, which is just going to take you to a page with more documentation and supporting content around the Premium feature set. The other piece we had just alluded to in the legend would be the color-coded text. So here we can see an example where this is blue. If I hover across this, it's going to open up a tooltip on this as well that does reiterate what was in the legend there. So if I forget what the blue text means and I don't want to open the legend to see it, I can actually use my mouse to confirm that, oh yeah, these are in fact technical changes since the last cycle of the I-codes. And again, as we scroll down, we can see a number of sections with blue text. And in most, if not all, wherever there is blue text, there will be accompanying premium code insights. As we alluded to, the blue indicates a successful proposal from the prior cycle. The premium code insights are going to provide much more context as to what specific change that was and how it came to be. Okay. So without further ado, what we're going to do is sign in now, and we'll look at these premium code insights and how to use them from a digital codes premium perspective. Because while the basic user is aware that all these exist, the modal would be consistent here where it lets the user know that does require premium to access. And while that is pulling up, the one other piece I wanted to show with the new designs that you'll see populated across more and more of the state and the local codes is the TOC information being communicated above the chapter list. So where there is an actual adoption and enforcement in effect, ICC is making sure to communicate the effective date and then the status of the base code and whether or not it is further amended for usage within this locale. So with Florida, for example, while it is reiterated in the About This Title region, we can see here that this cycle, the 2023, went into effect December 31st of 23. And these are all based off of the 2021 I codes with amendments. And what's really nice here is the base code is hyperlinked. So at any point, we can jump from the Florida code into the base code that it originated from, and we can find all these premium code insights and additional materials contained therein. All right, so I am signed in now. As an authenticated user on digital codes, one of the other updates that went into effect recently here, and I'll hit refresh to make sure it does get picked up, is that blue banner you saw pop in at the top of the stack. That's going to remember whatever section within this title I visited in my last session. And it's going to give me an opportunity to jump directly to that to pick up where I left off. Much like for those that are familiar with streaming services, be it Netflix or Disney Plus, if you're in the middle of a movie and you get interrupted where you have to either turn it off or you have to leave and come back to it later, you don't want to have to go back and rewatch the whole movie. It's a common feature today that you pick back up where you left off. That's much the mentality that we're delivering here with digital codes. Is if you're in the office, you head out to the field, but you want to find your requirement or your note that you were looking at most recently. Now you have the ability to do that with a single click, and it's going to bring you into the content directly to that section you were looking at last. And that's going to be persisted for every individual title that you visited, and that is a facet for any signed-in user. So whereas I have premium on this one, users do not have to have premium to take advantage of that continue where you left off functionality. Okay. But on this title, because I am a premium user, we want to look at some of the insights and how those are going to function. So if I jump right in here to chapter 4, I'm going to scroll down, and here's a great section that has some tags in there already. The P icon is going to jump us back to this row, but now whereas there's a commentary excerpt available, when I click on this, it's going to give me the modal with some rich text that further supports the understanding and applicability. Ironic happened to be the title of this section. That was completely random, I promise. But the applicability of this code and how to enforce it properly. For most, if not all of the snippets, these are actually being sourced from other series of publications that are available on digital codes. But by using the Premium Code Insight capabilities, we're able to cross-link to drive more discovery and awareness of these materials where they do exist or where they are available. The commentary excerpts, as you would imagine, are sourced from the commentary of that appropriate title. And for those that are familiar with the commentary, the black diamond is carried forward to identify where the commentary text begins. But as the user scrolls through, you can see they're going to have access to that bonus content as well as the rich visual information, be it diagrams or figures or even photographs that further support the commentary explanation that accompanies the section text. And so by scrolling through here, the user can take advantage of all of that. And what's really nice is with these snippets, the user, even on a premium single subscription, would be able to gain access to these insight materials, even if they don't have a premium subscription for the commentary from which these are being sourced. And the commentaries is one example. As we scroll through, I'm going to look for a section that has some of that blue text. There's a good one right there. So smoke control, again, we had talked about the blue text indicating a successful proposal. So this one, for example, has a code change details. And opening this up, we can see the actual proposal in legislative format. So with the strike-throughs and the underlines to indicate what text was removed, what text was either added or modified, along with reason statement, cost impact, and any outcomes from the code development process, so that the consumer of this information has full context as to why this change was made and how it came to be. And for those that want to understand it further, they even have the hearing videos embedded here so they can watch the real testimony, both in support and opposition, behind this change as it was discussed. And for each one of these pieces, users have the ability to provide their comments and feedback about how useful this information is. And all of this information is tabulated behind the scenes and used to serve up different pieces of information just based on their value and the feedback. So as users scroll through, they're going to see more and more. The majority of these premium code insights today are tagged against the base I codes. And again, the reason being many of these are sourced from the supporting titles that directly map to the I codes. The reason I wanted to communicate the Florida changes earlier is if we go over here, the associations here now with capturing the base code is going to allow us to extrapolate the premium code insights even further beyond the I codes. So in the near future, you're going to start seeing more and more of these appear on the custom codes as well, based on their relevance and the accuracy of the base code these originate from. So this content is going to become more and more widely available and useful. Now you might be asking, well, how do we know, other than the P icons, where all of these premium code insights are going to be available? And if there's one specific type we're interested in, can we find them quickly? I'm glad you asked. Yes, you can. The Insights tab here will actually list out from the active title, and it's essentially a subset of the contents where you have the full chapter list and sections. The Insights will give you the list of all chapters where at least one insight exists. So we can jump right to that, and you can see each one of these are going to have the P icon and at least one code insight included within them. And if there was a particular type of insight that we cared about, let's say the commentary excerpts are of particular interest, so we want to see more of those, we can filter to just that value, and now we see the sections specifically that have the commentary excerpts tagged to them. And we can jump to those with a single click. And again, opening that is going to give us the context in the modal with the commentary text and the visual that accompanies it. And again, more and more of these premium code insights are being added in real time every day. So whereas there may be 4 inside of Chapter 4 today, when you come back and you access the 21 building code next week, this could easily be 8, 12, or even 20. You know, it's the benefit of keeping your subscription active and checking back for these insights regularly. The drop-down list here also lets you know the growing array of premium code insights that are being tagged. So we had already talked about the code change details as being sourced from the revision history, giving us a legislative format of each code change proposal that is ultimately successful. We have the study topics, which are being sourced today from our essentials guides. So those are going to give you, again, text information becomes really valuable as a preparation tool, whether you're taking an exam or just brushing up on the understanding and accuracy of the text being applied. The hearing videos are embedded videos from both the public comment hearings and the committee action hearings. Key changes are sourced from the significant change series. So again, all of that information is going to be controlled inside of here in the modal. Premium answers are sourced from our growing set of questions and answers that ICC technical services experts are providing opinions on. These are going to be tagged individually to the sections they're most relevant to, but I will offer that the Premium Answers full set is available here under Premium Tools, where users can take advantage of the entire database that are available. And you can scroll through and see the questions and the corresponding answers, or search for a specific topic based on what we want to see. So egress, for example, we've got 13 different questions all related to egress today. And clicking on any one of these will open up both the full question and the ICC technical expert answer as it pertains, and again, along with the relevant code titles and sections. And so this is what is mapping to the Premium Code Insight to bring even more awareness and value from this information. And then commentary excerpts, which we just touched on, and then code interpretations. And so these are going to be similar in nature to the Premium Answers queries, but these might be some of the older ones that were sourced from PDF files or other medium. So those are being tagged here as well. And the idea is to keep adding more and more value to the Digital Codes Premium to benefit you, the consumer of this content, to make it easier to understand and apply for all the various use cases. And just to kind of show the direct relevance of these, the commentary excerpts, for example, 406.5.2, the text contained herein is going to be the same text that if I were to navigate to the commentary itself, I want to go to the 21 commentary for the building code. I'll navigate to section 406.5.2. And as I click this, you'll notice again the blue icon, continue where you left off, is going to be available for each one of these titles as I visit a section. But it's just to show that the content is the same. So for those that have a collection or premium complete, the real benefit becomes you're obtaining access or awareness that the commentary exists. But then if you do jump over to the commentary, not only is this text also available to you, but you can scroll through and you can take advantage of all these other robust sections with the commentary and the editorial text, further clarifying the model code as written. So this becomes more of a benefit in the moment that it's relevant to, but as I had alluded to, also a value of a subscription to the model code, even if the commentary or even if some of these other titles like the significant changes isn't immediately a part of your subscription. And then one other piece I wanted to spotlight here is, in addition to Premium Answers, the ICC AI Navigator is an AI tool allowing the user also to ask your questions and get trained AI answers based on our robust knowledge of the code bases. So as a starting point here, we've got a couple of questions that can be utilized just with a single click, but it does allow the user to drill in across different cycles. The beta went live with the I codes, but updates here coming shortly will allow a much wider set, including the custom state codes that you can ask your code compliance questions against. And you can see, similar to what we're doing with Premium Answers, the question here is going to come back with references to the code titles and sections that they're sourced from. And this too, with a single click, the user is able to pull up and access the contents of that section that they're sourced from and jump into that section if desired. Additionally, they can come back and ask another question, or they can change the cycle across which they're asking their questions. And again, as alluded to, the 24s and the state coverage is something that'll be coming here shortly to digital codes. All right, so I'll pause there. I'll say, Phil, any questions at this point from the audience that we want to address?
No, there's just been some minor ones that I've been answering as they come up, so I think you covered it well. If there are questions, please go ahead and post them in the chat here or raise your hand. I think I can do that, but post them in the chat and we'll make sure we'll circle around. Do you got other things to show, Dan, or you want to wrap up?
That was the primary topic with insights. I mean, we can certainly review other features, but I want to be cognizant of what the audience has the most interest in. I will finish up this topic by saying the Digital Codes Premium offering does have a 14-day free trial. That's going to include access to all of these features and all these insight snippets we reviewed today. So I strongly encourage everybody to take advantage of that. And the flexibility with Digital Codes really is that we have subscriptions for every need and every budget, whereas you can subscribe. Premium singles would be the title by title basis. Collections is going to be pre-grouped of similar content. And then our Digital Codes Premium Complete offering is the largest single subscription, which as of today has over 1,600. I'm going to navigate to that so I can give you all the exact quantity. We go under collections.
Yeah, I was going to say, as you're showing, yeah, keep going to where you're going, because there was a question if all these features are available in every title. And my short explanation would be not every title, every I code title, every state amended code. How else would you refine that, Dan? Because there's some like ASTM, which is a read-only format.
That is correct. So if we're asking about insights specifically, or is it what titles are available?
Let's go with, well, insights will only be in our I codes, but there's other features like copy, paste, create notes that are with a premium license that do not work on every title. I just use ASTM as a obvious example.
And that's a good point. So Premium Complete, we can see as of today is 1,665 titles for a single subscription. And the functionality here allows you to see what all titles are included with Complete, and even allow if there's a particular title of interest, you can drill down to it right from here by typing in a part of the title, and it's going to narrow this down in real time. With respect to what features are available across all these titles, so long as the title is digitized, then yes, the premium toolbar with the ability to add notes, the ability to hyperlink is going to be included with it. What Phil had alluded to with ASTM is one of the outliers, and the reason for that being the ASTM titles, per the licensing agreement, are delivered to users with Premium Complete through a PDF experience. And so the PDF nature is what prevents some of those additional features from being offered. But the contents of ASTM themselves are fully available, albeit in a lockdown read-only format.
I'll make a couple comments here. You don't necessarily have to go to any place, but they're asking about copying text. When you have a premium license and you're in a code section, you are able to highlight and copy and paste it into an email or a Word document. Some people asked about if you're able to do that without a license, and I don't think it just, not to circumvent the features, but it doesn't come out the right way if you don't have a license, right, Dan, if you're trying to copy and paste?
So if
without,
if you do not have premium, while the content is available, it is
yeah,
presented in a read-only format. So there
right.
is no copy and paste or printing in the non-premium perspective. Within premium, as Phil had alluded to, you do have the ability to copy and paste as well as print on a section by section basis. And it's actually going to generate a nicely branded PDF file here that the user can take with them, calling out that it is watermarked along with the terms of service. That's for individual use only. It's not meant to be reproduced. But we do recognize there's cases where supporting documents or appendices might be necessary to go with a report, and being able to cite and include the specific text as written is very valuable.
Yeah, and that is also very valuable with the commentaries. If you're not familiar with commentaries, you might want to look those up. Those are real helpful. And the commentaries of the I codes are not available without a license. But when you do have a license for it, you can, as you saw, you can print that entire regular code section and the explanation that goes along with it, which can be useful that you can, download as a PDF for that section and attach to any emails as well too. Um, Question, and this is a general one. I don't know if I got a great answer for it, Dan, is locate all the state amended changes to an I code. Now, as you saw, Dan had pulled up when we are an amended code like Florida, California, the copy in the section that is in red type will be the amended code from the I code, but there's not a way to combine or compile those all in like on one search, right, Dan?
Currently, there is not. So the color-coded text will help you identify them,
Yeah.
but there's not currently a list that's going to call out just those sections. Yeah, so as we go to Florida, again, it's going to be the red text. And if we open our legend, there again is our identifier. Blue was in the I codes, or a level 1 change, if you will. Red is the further modifications at the state level.
When I use the word license, I'm sorry, I'm referring to a digital coach license or subscription. I don't use the word membership because there is also a membership. So if we're saying DCP license, we're talking about the access to the codes here. Also follow up on the printing ability. Printing multiple sections at once is not part of the features there. We've narrowed it to just the code sections and any subsections underneath it. As you can see, you could print individual sections, doing that several times. Some people can copy and paste that. It just may lose that formatting, so it's restricted. As you can see there, if it has a subsection underneath it, it will allow you to do that. So that's the extent of what you can do it. And then, Dan, as you're doing this, we had a question about, I think this was just fixed in this release, printing sections with tables. They had challenges with the alignment when it extends. When you print tables now, I think actually you could, take it right there and it will show you what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember that being too much of a challenge. Viewing maybe, but I think the print always worked well. But go ahead and offer any insight if there was, Dan.
Yeah, I was going to say, if there's specific tables that you're seeing issues with, please report that to us. You'll notice over across digital codes, we do have this feedback tab, and we do monitor that very closely. So we welcome that kind of feedback. But yes, the tables are fit to the page for PDF. I can say for the tables that do get wider, the font size is shrunk down to make sure it can fit on a single page. So the larger tables might be a little bit harder to read, but that's to make sure that none of the text within there is getting cut off.
Hey, Dan, do you have a bunch of notes and bookmarks on this that you can show where you can create a PDF of your notes?
Sure.
All right.
Yes, that we're going to
Yeah.
premium tools.
Yep.
By notes and bookmarks will give you the ability to manage this holistically across any of your titles.
And what Dan had shown before is how to print an individual section. I think what this question here is, I'd like to generate a PDF of several notes. So
Okay.
I know you can
Yeah,
do
so
that in a
I can
single
filter.
title or across project tags. Sorry, take it away.
No, it's okay. So I can filter by any of my project tags that I've defined. We can see I've been busy. I've probably got more than the average user. But if I select my default here, it's going to let me know how many titles I have notes classified as default within. And I can actually select any, or I can select specific titles from this. And I can expand to see what those notes are, what sections they're impacting. And then I can give an optional title. So we'll call this my default note so I can reuse my project tag value. And then by generating a PDF, it's going to pull all that text into a single PDF document that I can download or print for my use cases. And that's going to include the text from the title along with my note for each one. And that's going to have my standard disclaimer at the bottom then as well.
And so, yeah, I wasn't paying attention. I was answering a question, but you could do that both by the title. It looks like that's what you just did. And if you're using project tags, like you got a same project that spans multiple titles, you can filter them by there and take those
Correct.
across. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I wanted to take it down further, I only want my 2015 I codes. We can see the listing responds dynamically, and then I can narrow it all the way down to a single title if I want, and it just makes it easier for me to find the appropriate notes. Selecting all is going to grab me everything. It's going to let me know there's 30 notes in this PDF that I'm about to generate. If I go title by title, we can see that count's going to update dynamically, letting me know how many notes are included before I generate the PDF.
And question you may not know the answer to, but this is where we that feedback button, go ahead and put it on there too. If you click on it, if ever you see this, I swear we check this every day because it's important to get feedback from our users. But someone said that they have 200 notes in one title, Dan, and it did not allow it to open in a PDF. Might that have caused a problem with the size?
If it did, there definitely should have been more direction presented to that user. But yeah, please let us know about that. We can look into it. With a quantity that large, that would be my assumption. Is it something either in the browser or the application might have had an issue generating that output?
All right, and going back to a question, this all is web-based software, so you can access it from any device that has an active browser. Someone was asking about if you have all these settings, these custom settings are saved if you're on different devices. Yes, because you're logging into that account with the same account information that you log in on your desktop, your laptop, your mobile devices. If you want to use it on a mobile device, we suggest that you use the browser on your tablet or your iPhone because that has the access to the most features that you're seeing here. There is an app, which someone did mention, that you can use to download up to 15 titles so you can access them offline. You can use the app while you're attached to the internet as well too. It's just you're going to lose out on some features like the AI navigator and some other things. So best case or best practices, use the browser and everything. If you are going to be totally offline, you can have downloaded titles to your app that you can still access and be able to view through the like the table of contents and be able to look up notes.
Correct.
We have a question about digital codes for exams. Actually, we had a tab for that, Dan. May as well pull it up while you're there. If you are taking an exam from ICC, and I can't answer too many questions about training, but what I can tell you is that the Pronto exam system is now allowing you to choose what format you'd like to use. So when you go into the exam, you could choose using digital codes in this basic version or have a book. They're not requiring you to they're not changing it for everyone to go one way or the other yet, but you do have that option. The reason why some people have asked about this is because like they buy the IBC and they don't use they use an amended code for IBC and they never use the book again. So you do have the ability to use digital tools to study for it. And Dan, I'll let you refine that comment.
No, it was well said, Phil. And it really is a convenience factor where the digital offering is made available. As Phil just alluded to, in absence of this, the onus is on the exam taker to procure a copy of that title, whether they go out and buy it or borrow it or rent it. Now that's one thing the exam taker doesn't have to worry about because they'll have the ability to access the full contents of these appropriate titles during the exam itself. You'll notice the look and feel is complementary to what the user would see with a digital code's basic experience. The benefit is they're going to be able to traverse all of this during the exam itself. So Pronto being very secure, very locked down, you're prevented from accessing any other websites via the proctor, but the DC for exams and digital codes here is the exception to that, where you can look up the full text. And for those exams that have more than one title in scope with the questions, the dropdown here allows you to pivot between the available titles. And what I'm traversing here is the sample exam so that every signed in user has the ability to see what this exam experience looks like. If I were to go back, what you'll see is for any users who have purchased an exam voucher, as soon as they register, that specific exam is going to appear for them here in this Pronto Exam Resources table. And the simulate exam experience allows them the opportunity to get familiar with the digital look and feel before they go into that 2-hour period for the exam itself. So we don't want you learning something new when you're already under a time crunch. You can get familiar with the navigation here, get familiar with the jumping to the different sections, and even a very simple search capability here where the user can type in one of the keywords, let's say structural. And you can see it's going to highlight every occurrence of that word across the page, making it easier for the user to navigate between them.
And then going back, I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at your screen. It showed there was a sample test or something to show how it looks.
Correct. So the sample exam is going to include the 21 building and the 21 residential code. But again, this is available for anybody to step through even before they bought an exam voucher.
Yeah, no, that's what the question was, if there is there a way to try it. So it looks like there is, and it shows how it would appear on the Pronto screen, right?
That is correct. Yeah. So the Pronto would actually give you a link to this. The link would bring you right to the landing page and then the content experience. Biggest thing you'll notice is it's more locked down than the traditional basic. You don't have the search bar here at the top. So for the exam, the intent is to keep the person focused on the titles that are relevant as opposed to going into other aspects of the digital codes application.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned you could like be using the before as you're studying for the exam, the notes and all those features we were showing you beforehand. But when you actually get into the exam, it'll be, yeah, as he said, just a very stripped down basic version, which allows you to, use the index to navigate the codes, but you're not going to have your notes there or your search bars or anything. And it does not log out. There was a question, someone's, and we'll cover concurrent licenses and stuff like that, but someone's in a concurrent group, they get logged out at 20 minutes. No, that does not happen in your test stand.
Correct. In fact, you are not required to be signed in for this experience. The validation is against your Pronto credentials. No digital codes requirement is present.
I do have a general question here. If someone's on a job site and want to pull up a code definition, can you do that in the search bar? So the person who privately sent that, if you want more detail, go ahead and resend that to me. But yeah, if you're on a job site, I'm trying to figure out, how the question might be posed. But I mean, obviously you can go to your exact book. If you're amended state code, you can choose that as well too. The search bar that Dan's doing now, if you start from the home page, it'll go globally across all your titles. But whenever you select a title to start with, you'll notice that the search bar turns grayed out to say searching only within this title. So if you know the topic that you're looking for, yes, that would be a way to look for it.
Section 202 is going to be pretty reliable, is where you're going to go for the series of definitions. And if there's a
Yep.
specific one here, let's say accessible unit, if you're a digital codes premium user, we can enter that into the search bar and it's going to bring up the specific results from that title for which we'd expect to find section 202, yeah, pretty high near the top. So it's the third result in this scenario.
And leave it on that screen. I always get asked this question. Scroll up to the top when they give you the results. It is by relevance. Some people like to see how it occurs in the book, so you may miss that scrolling down, but you can change it to sequential, and that will show you in order that term how it appears. If they use AI Navigator for this, and we found a lot of people starting to use AI Navigator instead of the advanced search here. If someone specifies, Dan, search only IBC, would it restrict it to there, or would it?
In most cases, yes, it will ensure that IBC is part of the focus. It may still find references to other titles. And again, that's where the AI is being more cognizant of the answer not necessarily being so insular to only that title, but it will give precedent to the IBC.
And that's one of the great features too. I mean, you may be familiar it's in IBC, but as you run through the AI Navigator, it finds similar results that are in other code books that may be relevant that you weren't aware of. So it's kind of a cool feature. Make sure you use it and always grade your answers too, because it always makes it smarter. We're getting we got about 5 minutes left here. Dan, do me one favor and go back to your collections and pull up the complete collection screen where it shows pricing options. If you guys got any more questions, you got 5 more minutes to go ahead and post them up, but I did just want to make a couple comments here. questions that people ask me frequently here. You know, I assume we got a mix of people who are current users, I can tell by the questions, who have licenses, and people who are just getting the information for the first time. If you're a first-time user, the most common question I get is, you know, how do I acquire these licenses? We do always start out with Premium Complete as being the best suggestion, because as we said, you can buy single titles, but as you start getting multiple titles within a collection, it's going to be less expensive to get like the iCode collection. If you're getting multiple collections, then Complete's going to be the best value. It does have over the 1,600 titles. When you are looking at licenses, you can either have these licenses dedicated. You can see it shows quantity discount too on this page now, right? Or it will dynamically do it. You can acquire, yep, there you go. You can acquire any amount of licenses. You don't have to tell us if you are dedicating them to users or sharing them. If you were to buy 10 licenses, they all go into your administrator's account, and you can configure them however you want. If you want to share some of them in a shared group, you're able to do that. If you want some dedicated, you're able to do that as well too. So there are options to find the best solution that your organization's objectives are. Canadian codes. We do have, someone asked about Canadian codes. We do have some of those in there already. And that's another point too. You saw that one page, I guess he was on there, that showed the dynamic counter. Whatever we are able to include and complete at no charge, we continue to put those titles in there. We are adding, you know, from different geographical areas. There's the Canada codes there. So if you haven't seen those before, hey Dan, are those available in free basic view? I think I looked at those and maybe they weren't.
They are not. So that's what this P icon under the title indicates, that is one of those that's going to require premium in order to access.
Yeah, so good question. If you were looking for them on our homepage, you probably saw that they were there, but you're not able to access them. Once again, some titles are dependent upon the licensing agreement we have with those organizations. So Canada is available with the license. However, at the beginning, as we mentioned, you'd have access to like these Canada codes and those other ones with the free trial. We do encourage everyone to do it. It is 2 weeks, 14 days. It really is free. We're not asking for a credit card. We're not charging you when it's done. And it's just a good way to, you know, go ahead and view this. And especially if your organization's considering, I always recommend tell your stakeholders or your 10 or 20 users, everyone get on at the same time, and then you can reconvene after a week and, you know, see how often they would use it. And that may give you a better indication of how many licenses your organization would need. Quickly, Revit add-in. I know did we just release the new version of it?
We did. We just released updates for it. It's going to include the ability to add your meta information for your projects and even generate a building code summary directly within the Revit application itself. That continues to be available as an extension of Digital Codes Premium. So just by visiting here, the Revit add-in page, you have the ability to download and install. And you've got some testimonials here as well as support information. Along with system requirements, which, yeah, the 2024 version of Revit is supported now as well. That was another recent update.
All right. I will post my phone number and email at the end here on the slide. Had a final question. If you can refine this anymore, quickly text me. Can you show again how the search works for the testing codes? Not sure specifically where, but you know.
I assume it was for DC for
Okay.
exams.
That may be it. That's the testing they meant.
Okay. So we'll come back in here, my sample exam. And this is the equivalent of the Control F keyboard shortcut. It's just that we're giving the input field to make sure this is going to be compatible with the Guardian browser, which is what Pronto exams are served through. But it allows you to type in any word that occurs, any keyword that you're seeking, and it's going to call out or highlight any occurrence of that on the page. Pull this up. I, of course, chose one of the largest chapters. There we go. So if we do something like provisions, I can grab that. Nope, see, copy and paste is not allowed, so I can type that. And what it's going to do is let me know there's 3 occurrences of provisions on the page, and it'll allow me to step through each of those so I can see where they occur.
Hey, Dan, we just had a flurry of questions on Revit. So spend two minutes more going back there. We're gonna have to wrap up. But question was having a whole demo on this. This is since we released this new version here, we are looking to do it. It may be next April when we do a webinar. But yes, in a webinar specifically for Revit will be shown. Question being, if they're, if they're sharing licenses or such, how does that impact? Basically, when you start your Revit program, Dan, I'll let you go ahead. What pops up that gets the digital codes integrated?
So the Revit add-in actually acts as a pass-through. It allows you to have the digital codes, content, and features available inside the scope of Revit itself. So if you are sharing a license, you have the same ability to enter your concurrent code or assign it to a user so that they can leverage that content or those features within the Revit application itself.
Yeah, and just multiple questions about doing a Revit webinar, which we have planned. We just haven't announced a date for it. We just want to wait for this release to get out, get some users on it, and then we will do that in the next couple of months here. All right, any concluding statements, Dan, or should I just put up my contact screen here?
I'll stop sharing my screen. Appreciate having the chance to talk with all of you today and review some of the new features. And again, I will encourage the feedback or even emailing by way of Phil. We do welcome any and all suggestions, ideas, and comments. So don't be shy about sending those to ICC.
Yep, and someone else asked as well too if this is going to be available to everyone. Yes, I will end the recording here in just a minute, and it will be sent out to everyone who registered for this, so you have access to it. So, my phone number, contact information is there. Usually I'm the best person to speak to if you're asking questions about best solutions for your organizations. If you have technical issues or something with your account, customer success would be the best, but feel free to contact me. And if I can't answer it, I will direct you around to the right person. All right, I will stop the recording here. Thank you everyone for your time. Thanks, Dan. And next week is spring. Enjoy the new weather. We're up in the north, so we're very happy when spring comes here. So everyone have a
Absolutely.
great day. Great week.
Thanks very much.
All right, I stopped recording. I'm still beyond here for a few minutes till I got to do something else. So if there's any other questions, I'm scrolling through. How long to receive the certificate? Not sure about that. Go ahead and contact our certification and training services in our contact us.